I don't remember, and I should because I was there, inserting any seagulls into the intro, but I swear I heard it. Oh, the only thing less surprising than the Guardians winning on a double play, throwaway error is that Zach picked the M's to win it all, and they start the season 1-3. I mean, come on.
You're welcome, Cleveland. Hey, the only two things that have a flock of seagulls as their soundtrack, the Selby is Godcast and Grand Theft Auto.
Which one is more fun, you think, for the listeners?
Probably not this. Can you
blowing
see
up
them?
Blowing up a
them?
car or blowing up somebody's season in the first 4 games. I'm trying to look in the background. Those on YouTube, maybe you can study the background, zoom in a little bit to see if you can see the actual seagulls. I don't know that I can actually make them out, but it'll be part of your homework assignment if you are watching this on YouTube. To go ahead and count those and drop them into the... Oh, wait, I just saw one. Drop those into the comments by the end. I want to know how many just crossed the screen behind Zach there.
It almost looks like I'm in front of a green screen. There was also a yellow lab playing fetch in the outfield, and he had pretty good range.
Nice. Probably would need him to go chase around some baseballs to get tossed around this series, like the Mariners did to help the Guardians with that offense. No. Boy, we went through this. I don't know, we spent shows talking about the way that this team scores runs. The funny thing is, it took a little bit for that team to sort of develop into being something that you could watch that play out and feel like, yeah, that's believable. That's just the way that this team scores runs. I don't know what it's worth, but starting this season, did you see another one? Oh, wait, I see it. Starting this season, doesn't it feel like in the first 4 games, maybe they don't exactly know what they're going to be in the next couple months, couple weeks even. But there's an identity here that's carrying over from last year. This team already knows the way they want to go out and win baseball games.
Yeah, I asked Mike Zunino that. I said, 4 games, you're starting to see why this style of play was so effective and why it's just so different from what you see across the league. And he said, I said it to someone in the dugout today. The style is pretty annoying to play against. So, yeah, I mean, you just saw, like, you said it well in the open when you censored yourself, but I think the one thing that stands out is you can't relax. You can't have a mental lapse. You can't make a mistake because they will capitalize every single time. And I just think everybody asked, are you going to be able to play the same way? Are you going to be able to just string a bunch of singles together and win games that way again? Why not? I mean, it's not going to work every night, but it's the foundation that you establish this on. It's that anytime. I mean, there are several examples. I wrote about this for Monday morning just as like a refresher. It was almost reminding myself, oh yeah, these are the little things that they do so well that are actually really enjoyable to watch because it gets lost in the shuffle when you're thinking about a baseball game to watch. You're thinking about the things that you love, and it's the big home run or a key strikeout with the bases loaded. The things about the Guardians that are pleasing to watch are Jose Ramirez advancing 90 feet on a ground out that he has no business advancing 90 feet on. It's Steven Kwan working an 8-pitch at bat. Like little things like that they do so well that it's really easy to just overlook. But you add those things up because everybody in the lineup can offer something. And what you get is a team that wins close games. It's a team that is just a complete pest to the opposition and a team that started the year 3-1.
Well, welcome to the show. It is the Selby is Godcast. I'm TJ, that's Zach. He's at a ballpark. He's going to have to scoot soon, so this will be an abbreviated show. But, of course, we had to be here to recap the opening series in which the Guardians emerged with a 3-1 record. Maybe you didn't feel like they were going to emerge with 3 wins in the series. When you watched the opener, Luis Castillo was fantastic. And in watching that, there are times where, like I imagine being a Mariners fan, watching Savali carve up the Mariners, you would say, what in the hell, man? Change your approach, do something. You have to get after this guy. Watching Castillo in the opener, didn't you just feel like, this dude's on today? And sometimes you just get pitched to. And I just felt like that opener, for as boring as it was, I'm sure for Guardians fans watching it, It just felt like a day where the Mariners ace went and outpitched your ace, but then the rest of the series played out, and the Guardians emerged with 3 wins. I mean, hard to be complaining too much about that.
Yeah, I tweeted out the pitching matchups, I think, the day before the opener, and this is, especially in playoff time, and we're all guilty of it, but when we analyze a series, we only look at the pitching matchups, the starting pitchers. That's all that matters. And maybe it's because it's just so unpredictable, and that's the only thing you can compare that has some validity. We make fun of people who predict a playoff series based on who has the edge at third base, who has the edge at pinch runner. But at least with starting pitchers, you can sort of compare, and sometimes it plays out that way. But in looking at this series, I just remember reading the replies and the quote tweets and everybody saying, all right, well, they'll probably get the opener and then maybe they can get one more. Because you're just looking at the pitching matchups and you just assume, well, Hunter Gaddis against Robbie Ray is not favorable for Cleveland. I've watched enough baseball, and this isn't me patting myself on the back. It's me knowing I don't know anything. I've watched enough baseball to know that doesn't matter. Like, teams win games they aren't supposed to win going in. I don't know that it's the toughest sport to bet, but I'm assuming it's probably the toughest sport to bet because on any given night, anything can happen. And Seattle has incredible pitching. I think they have a top 3 rotation in baseball. We didn't even see George Kirby in this series, and I saw Eno Saris and some other people floating out that he might be a dark horse for Cy Young this year. And he's there number 5, maybe number 4 in terms of talent going into the season. But Hunter Gaddis won a game. You won the Hunter Gaddis game. Savali gave you a really, really good start. Cal Quantrill did not have good stuff on Sunday, and you still pull that out. And so you don't know. And a team like the Guardians, again, they're just not going to go quietly most nights. So they just seem to always, like, situations. I think why they were so good in extra innings last year, situations like that where you start the inning with a runner on second base, they capitalize and they find ways to escape when other teams are in position to capitalize. That's the best way I can explain it, but they just do that constantly. And so I've learned, don't make predictions about this team because they'll make you look stupid.
I don't know if there's anything to it at all, and I'm not sure how far this carries in, but the team just knowing not offensively the way they want to play. It took them a while to figure that out last year. And the personnel changes were part of that, too. You didn't have Yu Chang and Bobby Bradley too deep into the season. So how the team changed, or how the team was put together changed. And so that impacted how they played. But also in the bullpen, too. This was not a team that had everything set up exactly the way they wanted at the start of last year. I was just trying to think, last year, if they had a situation like they did in this opening series where, okay, you go to Class A in games 2 and 3, and then the 4th game comes up, who's going to be saving that game? Is it going to be Brian Shaw?
Karinchak was unavailable too, so it was, who's your third option?
So you get put in a position where the bullpen has to come up big because Quantrill can't go deep into the game. Then you're coming with Herron coming out of the bullpen, looks like the second coming of Andrew Miller, or the third coming if you want to take credit for your Sam Hench's prediction, whatever the case may be.
And then a couple of years.
You close the game. Well, then you get De Los Santos, you get Sandlin coming in. It's put together in such a way that because they went through a lot of the struggles last year, and you had some good stretches, you had some amazing stretches, and you had some bad stretches, but they entered this year. We talked about it at the beginning of the year when they had some injuries in the bullpen, that it was a nice thing to know when you begin the year kind of what everyone's role is going to be and who is the next guy up. So you get to a game where, I don't know if they win a game like this at the beginning of last year, but this year you certainly do because you've learned that De Los Santos can help you. You've learned, Nick Sandlin is healthy now. And, God, Herron still, that one blows me away. And then you get to the guy that got the extension, the Rule 5 hero from a couple of years ago, Trevor Stephan. When he comes out of the bullpen with the runner on second base, I can't speak for you, Zach, but I'm looking at it and I go, I think there's a pretty good chance, probably 90% chance that guy doesn't score. I don't know how many teams can say that about maybe their third best reliever, that you just, that guy's not going to score. But in extra innings, when your 2 best relievers are down, this team doesn't feel like they miss a beat. That is very intriguing that they begin the year this way, where they're not going to have to work it out. Injuries, we can't predict that kind of thing. And bullpens are always kind of fluky. But to begin the year, and you just know how that's all set up, has to be such a joy for Tito to look at a game like this and know that. But also, just as a fan watching it at home, you just have to feel a sense of calm. So much more about this pen because they worked out some of those kinks last year.
It's a great point, and I'm not just saying that because I made a similar point to Terry Francona after the game. But this is why when you forecast the season and you do it based on last season, you say, okay, they won 92 games, they got better in these areas are shaky, so I say they win X amount of games. They got to 92 by being very different teams in April and July and September, right? You just said in April you had half your lineup was guys who you would move on from pretty quickly. And the bullpen was a complete unsettled, I don't want to say mess, but you needed people to establish themselves in new roles. The only people looking to establish themselves in new roles now are only on the roster because Henchus is hurt and Cody Morris is hurt. So, yes, they won 92 games, but they had no semblance of a structured bullpen. You didn't have Karinchak for the first couple months either. And Stefan was good, but I think it took a little time for him to build trust. Henchus took a little time to build trust. Eli Morgan kind of burst onto the scene, but he wasn't the setup man on April 2nd. So that's right. You have order back there and confidence and trust from game one. It makes a huge difference. And that doesn't mean all those guys are going to be stalwarts all season. But you're starting from up here. Last year you were building to that. And from July on, you were up there. But you're up there from April on. It allows you to win games that you wouldn't have won last season. And it's why Hunter Gaddis and Cal Quantrill don't give you a ton, but you're still in the game. And you get enough offense on those days, and you win the games.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to be counting on that every series, deep into a series where you don't have your starters going deep in games, but it happens throughout the year. You're going to have to find different ways to win games. I think that's what's intriguing about this series is that every game they sort of did different things to win those games, relying on the bullpen in the finale, relying on power and pitching in Game 3, which is so different than Games 2 and 4. So that's encouraging. I want to see a team that grows and can win games in different ways because not every team is built the same that you play. The Mariners aren't going to be the same as the Yankees, aren't going to be the same as the Tigers, aren't going to be every team has their strengths and weaknesses. So learning that this team, as they grow and this progression continues for this young bunch, that we know that they can win games in different ways, helps me feel like this is more projectable and I can believe in it more than I already just saw at the end of last year. And it also makes it nice when you kind of draw things up in the offseason. I don't know, something like going to get a catcher to upgrade what you've been getting offensively. Now, I'm not exactly pleased that some of what I've pointed to as being a concern of mine has played out as well with some of the lack of blocks on balls in the dirt, but I'll put that aside. You want to spend
the next 20 minutes on that?
I'll put that aside for a minute, Zach, and focus on the guy had a big game, Mike Zunino. Big game today, and the reason why is we were having a birthday party for my son Ethan today. My parents are over, and I said, it's amazing you put Zunino in the bottom of the lineup. Why? Because you're just praying that one of the 20 times that he hits a home run this year, there's a couple of guys on base, and if you get that out of the 8th spot, you're thrilled with that. You're just hoping that those home runs that he hits are big ones, and today it was a big one, and he didn't contribute just the home run. He helps contribute to the tying run later in the game. So this kind of played out as well as they could hope for what they're anticipating and hoping for at that catcher position this year.
Want to play a game?
I would love to play a game. Gonna
All
fail.
Right, let's see how far you can go back.
Yeah, I lost.
No, let's do it this way. Can you name the Cleveland catchers who have had 3 extra base hits in the game since the year 2000?
Since the year 2000.
Since the year 2000.
3 extra base hits in a game.
Because that's what Zunino did on Sunday.
Okay. I'm going to start recently. Did Roberto Perez do that?
No.
Never.
Nope.
Oh, my God. Okay. Did Yan Gomes do that?
No.
Oh, my God. Did Carlos Santana do that?
He did. Almost 10 years ago to the day, April 7th, 2013 in Tampa.
Did George Kataris do that?
No.
Close. 2 home run game?
That's right.
How many are on the list?
Zunino, Santana, and 4 others.
4 others. Sandy Alomar?
No. His last year with Cleveland was 2000 anyway.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, Victor Martinez.
Correct. July 16th, 2004. This is courtesy of, I think we had looked up a few of these names in the press box. And then at @Klee_stats filled in a couple blanks here.
Kelly Shopik, did he do that?
Correct. July 30th, 2008. 2 more. No Sal Fasano. No Brett Hayes. No Wilson Ramos. No Rene Rivera. No Sandy Leon. No Chris Jimenez. No Mike Redmond.
Nobody did get thrown out at first base on a single to right field. I don't know. Let's not hold it up.
All right, let's go. Einar Diaz, April 28th, 2001.
Einar,
against
got
his
it.
future team, Texas. And then the one that shocked me. Lou Marson had 3 doubles on May 29th, 2010 at Yankee Stadium. Not sure if that was before or after he became very good friends with the Bella twins.
I was going to say, it's not... No, I'm not going to make that joke. Okay, no, I'm surprised.
Yeah, that's the list.
That is a hell of a list.
Hasn't happened in 10 years. Zunino did it in his 4th game. His 3rd game.
Has to feel fantastic for him to do that in Seattle. Not that Seattle's his most recent team, but where he spent most of his career with Seattle. And to come up big at the end of this series, it's huge.
Yeah, and I you know, your point, it's about sequencing, right? I think every team would love to have 9 guys in the lineup who are a threat to deliver impact at any time. But in reality, you're going to have a spot or 2 or 3, or if you're the Tigers, 8, that you're just praying that the one time this guy delivers, it's impactful. It's runners on base. It's a close game. And if you figure in the past, you know, Austin Hedges would give you like 7 home runs, you're praying that 1 or 2 of those comes at a momentous time. With Zunino, maybe you're hoping for 20 home runs or so, and you really like it when it's a 3-run homer and the game is still in hand and it's not a solo shot when you're down 9-1 in the 8th inning. You can't control that stuff. So that's when I think sequencing goes in your favor.
Reminder, this show is brought to you in part by SeatGeek. Godcast listeners get 20% off their first ticket purchase with the promo code SELBY. Download the app. SeatGeek, save you some money. Do it fast. I mean, do it within 15 seconds. Pretend you're a pitcher on the mound. Like, I don't know, James Karinchak in the opener. We began the show by talking about some of the least surprising things. I think Karinchak having an issue with the pitch clock would have been right there on the bingo card for all of our friends in the Discord. Karinchak having issues with the pitch clock would have been right there in this. It was almost like a free space that you knew was going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, he assured his coaches all winter, all spring, this won't be a big deal. I'm fine. I can cut out some of the extracurriculars between pitches and won't be an issue. You know, it was interesting. The fans didn't count until a pitcher had a violation. And we saw it Sunday with Enyel De Los Santos in the 9th inning. 9th inning? 9th inning. And his inning started with a violation, and the rest of the inning, they're counting down every time. And they're yelling 9, 8, 7. He had some close calls, too. First of all, I still don't understand I guess it might be a little difficult to get everyone on the same page, but count the wrong numbers. That's how you're going to screw them up. Go 3-2-1 when there's 10 seconds on the clock. Or go 9-8-7 when there's 2 seconds on the clock. That's what I want to see. But it also made me think, why do they wait until there's a violation to start counting and really get into it and be loud and try to fluster the pitcher? Do that in the 4th inning. when it's, I mean, the clock's going the whole game. But you could see, especially Thursday, whether Karinchak wants to admit it or not. And this is the thing, I think, why it was tough to predict the effect that the new rules would have. Because if you mess up in spring training, there's no consequence. Oh no, we slipped to 7th in the Cactus League standings because my error cost us the game. What are we going to do? Well, now it matters. And you get that first pitch violation, fans get really into it, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, heart's pumping a little more. Got to rein it in here. But it's a scoreless game. One mistake could end it, and like there's a lot to think through. That's why I thought I kind of credit Terry Francona to leaving him in, because you have to work it out. You have to pitch in those situations to test your mettle, to figure out how you can escape those. And 2 nights later, he did. I think that'll be beneficial in the long run. But you know, it makes me think about even getting some big games in September and certainly October, no matter who you are. And an atmosphere, I mean, think about like Yankee Stadium in a playoff game. And it's a big situation. The bases are loaded in the 9th inning, and you got a 2-2 count on a guy, and the fans are yelling 4, 3, 2, and like think of the pressure. I don't care who's on the mound. To feel that sort of environment in late March, early April, I think it's pretty cool.
If you're still dealing with it to that level in September and October, you kind of deserve what's coming your way. You can't adjust to it within the next 5-6 months, then really, what are we doing here? And I think they will. I think most pitchers will. I will tell you, in the opener, I felt an unbelievable level of anxiety watching that pitch clock. And eventually I had to say to myself, stop doing that, you dummy. You're making yourself anxious. You don't deliver the pitch. And I think it's more like me watching The Office going, Michael Scott, what the hell are you doing? It's like secondhand embarrassment. I don't want to feel that with the pitcher on the mound. And then as the next 3 games unfolded, I started to pay far less attention to that pitch clock. But I can tell you in that opener, despite the fact that I had watched spring training, and I think this game's for real. This counts, and you don't know how players are going to react once it actually counts. You don't know who it's going to impact. And so I was watching with incredible anxiety. But once you got past that, and I saw a game end in 2 hours, 3 minutes, I was like, all right.
Do you want a season's worth of 2-hour and 4-minute games?
No. But isn't that, I mean, that's an outlier game. That's not, Savali was amazing, and the 2 runs scored were on solo home runs. That can happen.
Yeah. I think what's amazing is you can play a game that goes 10 innings. A lot of shit happens. And what was the time of today's? 2:40 something? So I think that's good. I don't have complaints about the new rules yet. I think there are some quirks with the pitch clock and who's ready when, and I feel like the 8-second, you have to be engaged with 8 seconds left. I still am trying to get on board with that and understand who has the power in each at bat. But yeah, I mean, there's a good pace. There's a good rhythm to every game, because you know it. I mean, you get those games during a season where even sometimes it's like 2-1, but it just had no rhythm, no tempo, there's just a lot of dead time. I don't know if it's so many foul balls or it's just everyone laboring through every inning and just escaping damage, but there are nights where it's a 2-1 score and it's 3 hours, 32 minutes, and you're just shaking your head like, that was painful to watch. I think those are the ones that that will make the most progress, that will feel far better than they did in the past. Your pitching duels are always going to be quick, but early returns are good. I think I've found myself. I try to balance writing, working on stuff during games, and paying close attention. And I think I found myself paying more attention during this series than I might have in your average series.
I mean, I joked about it on Twitter that it's like the movies that are cut down and then later on they sell the extended cut and there's all this extra stuff. And did you really need that in there? Is probably a reason why it was cut out. But they'll sell it to you because we're all fanatics about whatever we really, really love. I don't find myself missing the pacing around the mound. And I don't feel like... It did feel rushed a little bit in the opener, but I adjusted to that pretty quickly. And I think the players will too. And I just don't find myself missing what was previously there. It would be like the NFL the play clocks in the NFL, what are they, 40 seconds?
40, yeah.
So imagine it's 55 seconds, and it's just 15 more seconds of dead time, guys huddling up and nothing happening. You're not losing action by taking this time out. You're just losing all that in-between time, and it's far less time for me to look down on my phone and get caught up in scrolling through TikTok before it gets banned, and I don't have as much time to do that, so I'm locked in on every pitch, and there's less chance to lose me between pitches. And I think of those games, I mean, you're talking about the grinds of games where they are pitchers' duels, or it is 3-2 and nothing's really happening, but I'm thinking of even the games where it's 8-1 and it's been decided since the 5th inning, and you're sitting there in the 7th going, holy hell, can we just fast forward to the end of this game? I haven't felt that. Now, this is an incredible series between two very good teams here. And so that helps you stay locked in. Not that this is a playoff atmosphere, but it could be a playoff preview. We don't know that. These two teams could meet later in the year, so it's intriguing in that aspect. But I don't find myself going, man, I wish there was another 30 minutes tacked onto this game. Even on the West Coast, you know what? It made it easier to stay up till 10 o'clock because I knew it could be just after midnight and we'd be nearing a conclusion. And I feel like I can commit to that as a fan sitting at home as opposed to the game starting at 10:10, and this might end at 1:30, and I can't stay up for that.
Yeah, the only question I have is what it's going to do to the fan experience. And this is where our listeners can maybe chime in more, but I mean, they had big crowds here all weekend, 34,000 on Sunday, and I saw some long lines. I ate wonton soup on Sunday. There's a Chinese restaurant that has a concession stand right beneath the press box, and it's freezing today.
I'm so jealous as you talk about this.
And it's absolutely freezing. The wind's blowing in. The windows are open in the press box. I thought, when is it going to make sense to get wonton soup? And the line was outrageously long because everyone else had the same idea. Lines for coffee places were very long. And you could miss 3 innings if you're waiting in a long line to get a beer, to get a hot dog, to get whatever. So that's the one thing I'm curious to find out how that experience goes. And especially in Cleveland, because I know sometimes they don't staff everywhere, especially in the upper deck during games where maybe they don't expect a fuller crowd. Does that create longer lines? Does that make you miss more action? I don't know. I'll be curious to hear how things go Friday. But, I mean, personally, I can't complain about quick games, but that's not the right word. I think just efficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not missing any action by it happening. But you're right. There are elements of it that are tough to know until it actually plays out. I know some have voiced those concerns on Twitter. In our Discord have talked that they're less likely to make a trip up to Cleveland if they're from 3 hours away, if the game's going to be over quickly, and they can't just settle in to enjoy the typical 3-hour, 15-minute game. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I can speak to the first 4 games that I watched on TV, and you can speak to the first 4 that you watched from a press box, and I can say it was a more enjoyable viewing experience as I got very quickly used to all of this playing out. And I'm very intrigued. And the funny thing is, for as much as we also talked about the bigger bases, which you are seeing teams take advantage, more steals, The Guardians catchers, to their credit, have actually thrown a couple of guys out in some key spots. But I never really said, oh, look, there's the shift. That's the shift. Maybe a couple of times.
There were a couple singles. Maybe. I think Jimenez had one and Bell had one that I said, I don't know if that would have been a hit last year.
Yeah. But it's like, has it really impacted the game to a significant level, or is it just kind of what we thought it would be? Maybe a single here and there, and maybe that leads to an extra run here and there, but probably not as significant as it could have been potentially.
Main thing is, in terms of a pure viewer standpoint, those were 4 entertaining games. And you're right, 2 good teams, 2 teams that have the pieces to be really good and potentially go far in October. But I think it was just more enjoyable. I mean, especially the way Cleveland plays when they're taking advantage of the new rules and they're slapping singles all over the place and running and capitalizing on mistakes, and they're doing that in 2 hours and 29 minutes. It's an enjoyable watch. I mean, I let us know. Did you?
Sure.
I would think, and I'm not just saying this on behalf of Cleveland fans because they won 3 of 4, but that seemed like it would have been a very enjoyable series to tune in for, if you could find it on your apps or streaming service.
Easy. Let's leave on a positive note. But yes, we want to hear. We often say on this show, we don't want to tell you how to feel. We'll tell you how we feel, but how you feel is how you feel. And if we disagree, we disagree. Drop into the comments on YouTube. Leave us a message in the Discord. And if you're not a member of the Discord, then come help support the show and you get access to the Discord. And, of course, we'll be back later this week over at patreon.com/SelbyIsGodcast to recap another series. And who knows where Zach will be and what wildlife will be in the background, but you'll have to keep it locked to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you catch your podcasts. Nice opening weekend, huh?
Pretty good wonton soup.
I'm so disappointed. I want some now. You know I'm going to want some.
I think the Guardians have crab Rangoon nachos. That's the closest you're going to get at Progressive Field.
It sounds like a monster from Star Wars, I'm not going to lie. All right, for Zack Meisel, I'm T.J. Zuppe, and you are you. We will be back later this week over at Patreon, and of course, as we kick off the season, we will be with you for free shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you catch them, or go follow us on YouTube where you can see the video. And who knows what might be in the background. You always got to watch. We're out of here. See ya.